Drews, and it is caught for a touchdown. It's gone! And Drews got it!
And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And right off the bat, right out of the chute today, we are joined by a fellow KUR personnel, Mitch Lambert. Mitch, here to talk Flyers hockey and maybe the Little Eagles in the first 20 minutes of today's show. How you doing today, Mitch?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Of course, we just both came from our video post-production class.
Very exciting.
Very exciting, yes.
We did a lot of things today.
Yeah, certainly we did. But anyways, we're coming off a toughly fought game by the Philadelphia Flyers last night at Montreal, taking it to overtime. Unfortunately, I mean, the Flyers were up 1-0 in this game for the majority of the game, with Matt Reed having a nice goal really early in the game. And, up until the very end, it seemed the Flyers were in control of this game. And unfortunately, I mean, they had Ray Emery playing, I guess standing on his head, I guess
Absolutely.
as they say. I mean, for most of the game, filling the shoes of Steve Mason, which, is a whole different story in of itself.
He's going to have to for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, he's going to be out. And it seemed like almost like a freak injury because he wasn't even in play. Like when he got hurt, he was on the, near the bench, and he leaned over a certain way and he stretched something out, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And in hockey, they never tell you what the injury is. They just say upper body injury, lower body injury, concussion.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Basically, yeah.
Unless you're having like long-term surgery, they just don't tell you anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a shame that, as far as like Steve Mason, it seems like he can't, stay healthy for whatever reason this season. He's
always had that problem, I think. He can't stay healthy. I mean, when he's healthy though, he's unstoppable.
Good, yeah.
And can you imagine if Steve Mason had defense, like a good defense?
Right, yeah.
I mean, this is a team where Braden Coburn is probably our best defenseman.
Yeah.
That's kind of terrifying, and he's not even playing.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing. I think he's hurt.
Yeah. And I mean, people bring up too, like, Kimo Timonen is, whether or not he's going to come back. And
yeah, I heard in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
If that. If he comes back, though, he's either going to do one of two things. He's either going to play out of his mind, like he's never played before, or he's going to be atrocious and he's going to destroy our team.
Yeah.
He's going to disrupt the chemistry possibly with the pairings and everything. Not that there really is any, but
yeah. Not only that, he's in
old.
his 40s now.
And is it really worth risking your future health if you have a blood clot or multiple blood clots? Is it really worth risking your health to come back for a team that may not even make it into the playoffs?
Right. But no, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I don't know.
All right. Well, anyways, but yeah, Steve Mason again. I mean, it's a shaky situation because I've kind of been saying for a little while here he's kind of like what Nick Foles is to the Eagles. He had a good Steve Mason had a good season last year, a promising one, but now he's prone to the injury bug, and it's just a shame. You wonder it's like a different injury. It seems every time, and it's just like is he going to sneeze one day and then pull a hamstring out of nowhere? Or,
it can happen.
It's just one of those shaky situations with Steve Mason, but yeah, against this Montreal Canadiens team.
Oh, they're the best one of in the NHL.
Yeah,
I really believe that. And
I mean,
if the Flyers played the way they did last night against any other team, they would have won without a doubt. And they deserved to win last night. Right. They were they had way better chances than the Canadiens did. The entire game, they had way better chances.
Yeah,
but they have a very good defense. They have a very good goaltender. Carey Price is unstoppable, and it's unbelievable because I remember years ago the Flyers played the Canadiens in the playoffs, and he was just an average goaltender. And I think they had Halak, he was their backup, and they started him one night, and all of a sudden, like, Carey Price is just an MVP caliber goaltender. And they played so well last night, the Flyers. They really did. And they played one heck of a hockey team last night.
Right. 50, a team that's going to finish with more than 50 wins and
one
of the top couple seeds in the playoffs.
I mean, just the chances they had, like right off the bat. I mean, Reed scored, and then Couturier, I think, had a chance.
He had a chance. Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of chances last night.
Giroux had a chance. Voracek had a chance.
Drew had that one breakaway, and it's a shame, Carey Price put the pad, the left,
he didn't elevate. If he elevated that puck, that's a goal all day long.
Yeah. Because, I mean, right away, you're getting the goalie to sprawl across to one side of the net, and, already that's given up, the top right corner of the area of the net.
It was totally exposed, wide open, and he didn't elevate it.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's a little unlike Claude Giroux there.
Yeah. He usually does. He usually does elevate it.
Right.
But he got the pad out, so it's...
Yeah. So let's bring up another missed opportunity late in the game where the Flyers could have, put the game away, gotten a second goal with Vinny Lecavalier, getting off on the bench. He, like a nice outlet pass was thrown up his way, and he would have been wide open. But the problem was he was getting off the bench at the worst possible time there.
He was he looked very disappointed with himself as he was getting off the ice in that game. He really probably should have taken the chance. And I know I can understand that he was at the end of his shift.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the game's on the line, may as well give it a shot.
Yeah. So it was just one of those unfortunate opportunities there that the Flyers coughed up. But yeah, I mean,
you can't blame the entire game on him.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah, you can't, because there were so many opportunities for the Flyers.
Carey Price was just having a good game. That's really what it all comes down to, because the Flyers were doing everything right. The defense did look shaky at times. It looked like Emery was the only one stopping pucks. If the defense stepped up a little more, they may have, saved a goal or two. But
Yeah. So right now, as it stands, I mean, the Flyers, they're, I guess they're chasing after a playoff spot here. The last 10 games, I mean, fortunately, they've been getting points out of it. I mean, they're
8 points out, I believe, right?
6-2-2, yeah.
Because Dallas won last night, and Boston's the team that we were chasing, sort of. So we got a point losing in overtime, so that would make us 8 points back, because we were 9 points back going into last night.
Right.
And Boston lost, so they got nothing, and we got a point.
Yeah.
So it's really not,
Boston,
it's not that much when you think about it, though.
Yeah. I mean, they're 8 points behind Boston right now.
It's 4 games, I guess you could say.
So, I mean, I guess there's time here. And
there's plenty of time.
Time to make up ground here. I mean, you never know. I mean,
they have to finish off this road trip.
Right.
Very well. Very strong, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a very important road trip, I think.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Flyers, they have been better at home as of late, obviously. I mean, if the thing is, I mean, you never know. I mean, if you want to be optimistic about the situation here, I mean, the one year the Flyers barely got in the playoffs, 4 or 5 years ago, and that same season,
2010.
Yeah, they managed to.
And they fired their coach that year, too. It was John Stevens who started that year. And then Lavi took over, and we went to the Stanley Cup final. So you never know.
Yep.
It always seems like they just barely make it in. Right. Or not,
Yeah, at least in recent years.
Yeah. They usually are in the playoffs, though. I can think of 1 year in my memory that they didn't make the playoffs. It was, I guess, our freshman year.
I was,
the lockout year.
Well, yeah, that, and I remember, of course, in, what was it, the 2007 to 2008 season, they were the worst team in the league.
I think it was the year before that.
Maybe it was the year before.
I think it was 06, 07.
Maybe it was that year.
But so that's what, 2 times in almost 10 years?
Right.
That's impressive to make the playoffs that many titimes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other time that they missed it, a couple years ago, that was that shortened lockout season.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah. But, they
we didn't have a goalie.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Briz was, Briz.
Briz was Briz, yeah, as they would say.
That was our issue, and now we have a goalie, and now we don't have a defense.
Yeah.
It's like
we have a goalie, but the problem is he's getting hurt all the time, and it's,
I think we have 2 good goalies, honestly. I think Emery's good, too. He's inconsistent.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with him.
There was that game. It was this month, I think, or within a month. I forget who we were playing, but he allowed 2 goals within, the first 5 minutes, if that. Maybe 4 minutes, and they pulled him right away because it was just horrible. What game was that? You remember that game, though?
I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, I don't get to see every game sometimes because on my TV, sometimes I don't have NBC Sports and whatnot.
No, it's horrible.
I don't know. Sometimes the games are on the Versus channel, another channel that I don't get. And
Versus?
Yeah.
It's NBC Sports now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I've had a history of All right, yeah. I mean, but you get the point. NBC Sports. Yeah, but they're condensed now and everything. And
I get it. I have Service Electric, so I don't know why you don't get that channel.
Yeah, I mean, maybe my TV's so confusing, and it's I don't know sometimes, but
that's the issue. That's another issue with hockey, though. I mean, it's not on it really,
right?
Except for Saturday or Sunday or whatever they had the game of the week. That's the only time it's nationally broadcasted. Other than that, it's on the local station or NBC Sports, which people don't get all the time, anyway. So it's an issue, and I think the sport is declining because of it. But at the same time, they still have their own fan base.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we'll continue to look forward through the season here. Is the Flyers? I guess they're Boston is the team that they're chasing down right now for a playoff spot.
And they always beat us every time. It seems like.
I mean, they still got. I mean, both teams still have 28 games left in the season. We'll see if the Flyers can pull it out. Certainly, and yeah, I mean, we'll continue to talk about it, I guess, in the coming weeks. As it seems like you'll be a regular guest host here on the show. I know you have to study for one of Professor Barish's quizzes or whatever coming up.
I have 2 today.
2
because I didn't have class on Monday, so he basically sent us an email saying you're gonna have more time to read.
Yeah.
So study those two chapters.
Yeah.
We have to read a chapter every night, basically, in this class.
Right.
So if you get behind in the reading, you're kind of screwed.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So.
Oh God, it's so boring too.
Yeah, and even he has a section at the top of the quiz, like to circle yes or no as to whether or not you read the chapter.
Yes, but was I awake during it? I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah. So anyways, I guess maybe we'll move into a little Eagles talk here.
Sure.
I guess
the free agency thing. I guess we can.
Yeah, coming up in a few weeks. I mean, last week on this show was the first edition of the semester, and we're fresh off the Super Bowl, so I didn't really touch on the Eagles. But I guess a good place to pick up with Eagles talk, I guess, is that last 4 weeks of the season or whatever, where the Eagles were 9-3, and then they faced Seattle. They lost to them. They lost the rematch to Dallas. They lost a game to the Washington Redskins, unfortunately, and essentially that put them at 9-6, and they were essentially out of the playoff contention altogether. Even though they could have matched their 10-6, and even though Chip Kelly said, we're gonna compete and we're gonna go out and try to win the last football game, even though it's not gonna mean anything, which they ended up doing for I guess what it's worth. Finishing 10-6 again, but the Dallas Cowboys winning this division at 12-4 this season. What was your lasting impression of how the rest of the season unfolded?
Well, I just could not believe what happened to the Eagles, because we were in the power rankings. We were like number 3 team in the league, something like that. We were projected playoff
oftentimes.
Team, and I don't know. It's like Tony Romo started calling plays for us, and we choked at the end of the season. Yeah. I don't know I just cannot even believe that it happened. That's how I feel about the whole end of the season, and I don't really know I think it's the secondary just collapsed. I think that
exposed, yes.
Especially what's his name, Bradley Fletcher.
I
think he's a lot to blame, but once again, it's a team sport. You cannot blame the entire downfall of a team on Bradley Fletcher, although he did have a lot to do with it.
Right.
And, they could have made the playoffs if we just beat Washington. And Washington is not a good team. They were not a good team. They were never a good team. And it's been a long time since they've been good. And we couldn't even beat them. So, my attitude was, if we can't beat Washington, we don't even deserve to be in the playoffs.
Right. At that point, yeah.
Those games should have been easy wins. Dallas was getting hot, so I can understand losing to them. And we should have won that game, too. But that's besides the point.
One.
I agree.
And the thing is, too, I mean, of course, they were down 21-0 in that Dallas game, and they managed to come back and take the lead at home. And at that point, I mean, you got to, momentum's all in your favor, and they gave it right back to the Dallas Cowboys in that game. And, suddenly they couldn't get anything going on offense. And, I mean, I guess we'll be fair here. I mean, Mark Sanchez started to come back down to earth, and he's not I guess the jury, whatever they say, the jury's out on him or whatever. I don't know, but Mark Sanchez, he was showing some promise in his first few games as an Eagle, except the Green Bay one, of course. He
was inconsistent, and that was his problem.
Right. He looked more like the Mark Sanchez we're more familiar with.
I think the Mark Sanchez we're familiar with is someone who's not good at all. I mean, that's people laugh when you hear Mark Sanchez.
The butt fumble at Thanksgiving a couple years ago, etc.
He just has a horrible reputation.
Yeah.
But people are always saying, oh, well, the Eagles may have done better if Nick Foles was playing.
Yeah.
If he didn't get hurt. And I don't really think that's true because I don't know if you remember how horrible he was
early in the season.
He was an interception turnover machine.
Yeah.
And that's something he wasn't before.
Yeah. And I mean, some people, and this will continue to be a topic of conversation throughout the coming weeks here for obvious reasons, but some people, they blame it because the majority of the offensive line was down and whatever, and LaShawn McCoy wasn't as playing up to speed as he normally is, and
that's when it all comes down to the offensive line. It's like the heart of an offense, because if you don't have good run blocking, if you don't have good pass blocking, number one, your quarterback is going to get hurt. Number two, your running back is going to get hurt, or he's just not going to perform the way he's supposed to, because if the line can't open up a hole for him to run through, he's not going to go anywhere. He's not going to get any yardage. He's not going to score. Right. It slows down the offense.
Yeah.
And it's a little unfair to blame LaShawn McCoy for having a bad year. I really don't think it was his fault. Had he had a good run blocking, something we don't even have at all, he would have been spectacular.
Yeah, and it goes back to Nick. You talk about Nick Foles again. I mean, also he's not very mobile at all.
No, not at all.
If you don't have the ability to move in the pocket and to I guess make a play with your feet, not having the entire offensive line there just spells trouble. When it comes to Nick Foles. So.
Well, they were healthy at the end of the year.
Yeah, when Sanchez was in.
Lane Johnson was also suspended, so it wasn't a matter of health. It was just
a combination of things. Yeah. So yeah. We have a lot of things to talk about throughout the semester, and we'll continue to talk about that. There's rumors about Nick Foles maybe getting traded somewhere else. I mean, who knows?
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be his reaction to that. But I guess before we hit the first break, this is, I call it like a Valentine's week edition because, Valentine's Day is just a few days away. And, for anyone who's interested in getting in on the discussion today on the show, there's a couple ways of, Valentine theme, I guess, little games, in play here. For those people who are in a relationship, To My Valentine. Or if you're single, you can play Rip and X with the and I did this last year during this week too on the show, and Rip and X is essentially, keep it within FCC guidelines and I guess keep last names out of it and whatever. But Mitch, I got to ask you, do you have a significant other right now?
Yes, I do.
And how long have you been together?
It'll be 3 years in May.
3? That's...
So she was, her name's Jamie. Yeah. She was my senior prom date.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
And, I don't know, we clicked. And we're still together to this very day. And I'm actually going to Westchester on Friday to go visit her. That's where she goes to school. So we're lucky it's only an hour and change.
All right, so I guess, do you want to, send a little shout out to your Valentine here? Maybe like what you might have in mind. You're going to go out somewhere to eat or something.
Yes, we have
yeah.
We have reservations at they have a restaurant in Westchester called Iron Hill.
Yeah.
This is the music from Billy Madison.
Yeah, you got it. It's a song by the Cars.
Yeah, it's like when Principal Anderson was opening up his...
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, I'm
glad you caught on.
I'm so sidetracked. Yeah, now it's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to Iron Hill. It's very much like the Kutztown Tavern here.
Yeah, I've heard of this place.
They brew their own beer. You can see the brewing stuff in there. It's a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Kind of upscale. And I think we're going to go ice skating.
There you go.
I'm trying to think. Just hang out, I guess.
All right. Well, yeah, man, that sounds like a good ice skating in there.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea.
Just discovered that there's a rink in Westchester I never knew about, so
yeah,
have my skates and ready to go.
Yeah. Now, last year at this time, well, I've been single for a little over a year now, actually. Actually coming off a 4.5-year relationship.
Wow.
And but I'm happy to say it ended, I guess, for the better. I'll get into that in a moment, but just so I guess I can bring up what I said last year. At the time, I didn't bring it. I didn't bring it up. I was fresh off this breakup or whatever. Not like I was torn apart or whatever, anything like that. But I didn't want to feel like I didn't want to make it sound like I was sour grapes, coming in here oh, I just broke up last week with my ex 4.5. So I brought up a story from years ago. I think I was 17 or maybe 16, and I was dating this girl, and this is my ripping X version last year, and I the first time we're getting in the car to I guess I was going to take her home or whatever, and she wanted to make out for the first time, and I mean, for whatever reason, we start making out, and I swear to you, I don't know what this was about, but her breath reeked of as if she was eating a big bowl of Brussels sprouts. I mean, I didn't. Now, and the thing is too, I'm a fan of the Brussels sprout, the vegetable, but
not on the breath.
But yeah, this just came out of nowhere, and I'm this is the first time I'm, even making out with a girl, and is so I'm learning here, is this what love is? Is this what?
That's just not a good first impression.
Is this what I'm? Yeah. But I didn't point it out or anything. I kind of just dealt with it. But I was laughing inside at this, and so it was just.
I've been there before, but not with my girlfriend, with someone else. But I mean,
yeah,
years ago, high school.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect you don't have to
You just have to kind of get over it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a spearmint breath or something. You don't have to. But this just came out of nowhere, and it was the first time I'm making out with a girl. It's is this what love? As I'm a young boy, but yeah, so I've been single for the last year. I've been busy with school and everything, so
you first.
It's whatever. But yeah, so since I ripped that that other ex last year, I guess kind of ripped the ex this year. The 4.5-year relationship ex who, when I started going to Kutztown, I transferred here to Kutztown, and I guess the thing is, being here on KUR, wanting to get into sports radio in Philadelphia and everything, it kind of set her off the wrong way. In the last few months, I guess, of our relationship, she started saying things all you ever talk about or whatever is, your sports radio and everything. And if I wanted to, by the same token, I could have said well, you do more talking about your job, your management position at the Dollar General at Gap, PA, than I talk about sports radio and whatever. And it's like this is what I go to school for. What
you want to do.
Exactly. That's it's something to be excited about. It's. I would want to talk about.
So she's pooping on your dreams, basically.
Yeah. I guess kind of like that, and I guess she thought it was, I was paying too much attention to this, and because
this is what's important.
Right, exactly, and I basically started saying, this is what I want to do, and I mean, you've been with me for 4 years now, and change or whatever, and it's now it's I'm getting close to graduation and whatever, and getting out in the real world, and if you don't want to be along for the ride, I even started hinting at this, and I guess maybe she kind of took the hint, and and then kind of said how she didn't want to be together anymore, and I said, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I kind of agree. I'm it's kind of funny. I'm going up here to Kutztown, and she's working way down in Gap, PA, and stuff like that. So, ironically enough, she got back with her ex that she dumped to get with me initially several years ago.
Ooh.
But I did a little. I mean, not that I'm a Facebook stalker or anything, but I did like a little like search, like check in, like because we're not.
What's going on with her?
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, and not that I complain or anything, but apparently she is engaged now to the ex that she dumped to get with me. Like it's ironic.
She's just gonna do that over and over. Probably, it's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
it's like a pattern for her.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't really. It's just kind of a joke, but I mean, I wish, I guess I wish the best in that, in their marriage or whatever. But yeah, and I mean, one day I had to go back to her, I guess her mom's house where she was living, because I had like some old N64 video games to pick up there and stuff and
GoldenEye.
Yes, exactly, exactly. GoldenEye, some of the staples, and I had to, I basically sit, I knew at that point that she got back within a couple weeks. Actually, she got back with this ex, and I even said like, you didn't, because she kind of like deleted me on Facebook. Not that we were arguing or anything, but I kind of said, I said like, you didn't have to, that's fine if you got back with your ex, and I was all fine about it, and I kind of just said, I said like, hey, like, we had a decent 4.5 years, and it just, it didn't work out, and things I guess will pan out for the better, I guess, and whatever. But so that's I guess in a nutshell, that's that. And I guess with that in mind, I guess I'll let you loose since you gotta go study for Professor Barish's quiz of the day. Quizzes of the day, I guess I should say. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Mitch, and I guess we'll have you on. I guess we'll have you on a weekly basis as long as you want to continue joining us here.
Sounds good to me. Thanks for having me. And check out my show tonight, by the way.
Yes, I was going to ask about that.
Yes, tonight, myself, Jake Zimmers, Matt Davis, 8 o'clock, KUR, Banger Pit. Catch all your metal, your rock and roll, anything noisy. And, check it out.
That's that. All right.
Have a good day.
Yep, you too, man. Thanks again, Mitch Lambert, everybody. So thanks for joining us, Mitch.
My pleasure.
Yep. All right, now the number to get into today's show, 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. We'll pick up where we left off with the Flyers conversation, getting into that a little bit. Get into more Eagles talk a little Sixers too. Sixers, a young team that's seemingly coming along, that always seems to compete, certainly. So, a team that was supposed to tank the season this year, you can't, obviously not high expectations for them. So give them credit where credit's due for now. Things are looking up, and fortunately the Phillies are kind of starting to take the hint that the Sixers did a couple of years ago themselves. So with that in mind, we'll hit the first break. Don't go anywhere.
We're Cub Pack 180, and you're listening to KUR.
If you're in a traffic accident and have special medical needs, the Yellow Dot program can help. Hi, I'm State Senator Judy Schwank with a Pennsylvania Moment. A Yellow Dot decal on your vehicle's rear window tells emergency personnel that there's vital medical information about you in the car's glove compartment. Call your local PennDOT office or log on to yellowdot.pa.gov. I'm State Senator Judy Schwank with a Pennsylvania Moment.
Come over here.
11:28, right here in the Tyler Werner Show today on Kutztown Radio. We just got done speaking with Mitch Lambert, obviously, for a good 20, 25 minutes, talking some Flyers hockey, which obviously, we didn't really get into last week. We were fresh off the Super Bowl, so for obvious reasons, we didn't really have much to say on the Flyers and the Sixers, and the Eagles off season as we approach free agency, and the scouting combine, I believe, begins today. So. We'll look at stats, because obviously Marcus Mariota is, do the Eagles trade up to get him? Some people wonder if they're, maybe he slides down the draft board, because there's an impression that Jameis Winston is more of a pro-ready quarterback, whereas Mariota is more of a Chip Kelly system quarterback. So obviously that'll continue to be a topic of discussion throughout the spring semester here. And again, we'll, as Mitch Lambert continues to join us, thought he had a nice debut here on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll continue to talk about that. So that's really where we're at right now. Plenty of talk, other things to talk about around the board here today on the Tyler Werner Show. 610-683-4058, of course, is the number to get in. And I got to catch up a little bit here because we had a long first segment, longer than usual. We had all the Valentine's stuff to talk about and ripping X's and talking Mitch Lambert going steady, and sounds like he's got a great Valentine's Day to celebrate. And I guess I continue to sit in the free agency market here as as I'm approaching graduation. So that's really where I'm at right now, but not that not that that's a focal point of the show. Not that anybody really cares about my my relationship status or whatever or past, but because it is not Valentine's Day, but in a few days, because it's going to be Valentine's Day, I encourage, you want to get into the show, talk a little sports, hit up the phone lines at 610-683-4058. Or obviously facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show if you want to type in a comment, type in your thoughts, type in any discussion questions you might want to hear me discuss about as things pertain to Philadelphia sports right now. And of course, you can rip an X like I did if you're single, or you can if you're gonna celebrate Valentine's Day with somebody this year. Your wife or just a girlfriend for now or whatever, you can do that as well. To my Valentine, and certainly to the I guess the Valentine's theme music from Billy Madison, as Mitch Lambert correctly pointed out earlier in the last segment of the show. Yes, so good job. He knew right away. He Billy Madison. He put two and two together there, but it's actually a song by the band The Cars in the 80s. And considering that's where I know the song from and where he knows the song from, I guess The Cars, they owe a lot to the movie Billy Madison there, as far as I'm concerned with, of course, Adam Sandler. So yeah, it was funny how Mitch pointed that out in the middle of this, in the sequence there. But anyways, so yeah, that's a special edition here of the Tyler Werner Show. That's how you can get in. You can talk little Valentine's Day or ripping an X within FCC guidelines, of course, or just keep the sports or do both. I don't care. You bring whatever you want to the table here on the Tyler Werner Show, as long as it pertains to what we're talking about here. All right, so from the KUR Notebook, attention KU community. Kutztown University's Career Development Center will host the College of Business Etiquette Dinner and Networking Night at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 24th in the McFarland Student Union Building, room 218. This event is for College of Business juniors, seniors, and graduate students. Online registration is required. Students may sign up by Tuesday, February 17th. Go to www.kutztown.edu for more information. This message of community interest is brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. All right, so we move on discussing, pick up a little bit, I guess, where the Flyers talk left off with me and Mitch Lambert earlier. And I guess take a look here at the standings. I mean, right now, there's 28 games remaining for the Flyers. There is they're 8 points behind the Boston Bruins. A little surprising. The Boston Bruins are in the wild card mix right now and not at the top of the Atlantic Division like they have been in recent years. But I mean, as far as the Flyers go, I mean, right now they're 23, 22, and 9, 8 points behind the Boston Bruins. Not to mention, I mean, the Florida Panthers right now, they also have more points than the Flyers. So if you look at it that way, the Flyers are kind of 10th right now if you want to, I guess, rank the teams as far as points right now in the, and I mean each team too. I mean, give or take a couple games difference. Some teams have only played 52 games, like the Florida Panthers, so they have a couple games in hand. But right now, the Panthers are also on the outside looking in. But if the season ended today, I mean, they'd be ahead of the Flyers, and the Panthers still wouldn't make the playoffs. But right now, the Bruins hold that 8th seed wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So Flyers, they have some work to do, I guess, for lack of a better term there. And I bring up earlier, it's a shame that it seems like Steve Mason is injured every other game, and I hear word earlier that it sounds like he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks, and they're going to have to rely on Ray Emery, and they had to call up another goalie from the minors because I guess what was their third string goalie, if you want to put it that way, Rob Zepp, has also been injured. So, again, I mean, the goalie situation is not very good here.
Who is this?
And, so, I mean, you got Ray Emery, who, like Mitch pointed out earlier, I mean, he's sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get with Ray Emery. He's inconsistent. He was good last night, definitely. I mean, he was standing on his head, as I guess the hockey cliche would apply here. For most of this game last night, he was making some great saves, yada yada. The first goal he gave up, which was getting pretty late in the third period, it was I don't think it was one of those that was entirely his fault, really. It was a mess in front of the net. There were a couple Flyers down on the ice, a couple guys in front of the net from the Canadians, and it was a bit of a mess. And the Canadians, they flip it in low. Ray Emery tries to, I guess, roll off to the right, but it goes, I guess goes under him. He was a little late on it. So, but again, it was a mess in front of the net and just kind of a bad breakdown there. And then late in overtime, I guess if there's any silver lining here, it's that the Flyers got a point in the standings out of this game, and so I guess that helps. But for the Flyers to catch the Bruins, right? I mean, they gotta win, and they can't afford any losses in regulation really at this point if they're gonna somehow find a way to get into the playoffs and take that last wild card spot or whatever. Because if that's how they're going to make it, I mean, that's it's a wild card spot essentially. I don't see how else they're going to make it. They're not going to win the division or anything like that at this point. So that's that. I mean, heartbreaking loss in overtime. So that's really where we're at right now with the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, it was funny because a few weeks ago, when they were, it seemed like they were way down in the standings before they started making up a little bit of ground here, making up for that first half of the season where they were, they struggled. It was funny because I'm hearing how people were saying, like, you know what, maybe they should just start tanking the season. Maybe they should pull a 76ers here and just tank the rest of the season. And but the Flyers are, as of late, I guess for the most part, they're saying otherwise. The other night they gave the Islanders, for instance, a good run for their money. The current Metropolitan Division leaders, who only have one overtime loss, which is astounding, compared to everybody else who, seems to have at least 3 or 4. Some teams like the Panthers have 11. The Kings over in the Pacific Division have 12. I mean, but the Islanders, I mean, they take it to a shootout the other night against the Flyers, and fortunately they beat the Flyers there. But that's a couple, I guess, good efforts against very good teams here in the Eastern Conference as of late. So I guess that shows a little sign of promise. But yeah, they got a road trip coming up. They haven't been as good on the road this season, unless of course it's against the Pittsburgh Penguins, where for whatever reason they always seem to beat the Penguins at Pittsburgh. So, but that's I guess that's really where we're at here. See if they can keep up the decent play here on the road, despite having this questionable goaltender situation and amongst other injuries. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in, or facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Again, it's Rip Your X Day, or Rip NX Day, I guess you should say, / To My Valentine Day, or however you want to word that, right here in the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. We'll be right back after this.
In olden days.
Hey there, cats and chicks. If you like variety in your music and a swing in your step, join me, Lise Avery, each week for Anything Goes. You never know what you'll hear on Anything Goes. It's a hip mix of swing, jazz, standards, and Broadway, and a little bit of just about anything else. So join me for the absolute best in popular song on Anything Goes.
Sundays from noon to 1 here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
Did you know that 80% of KU students don't binge drink?
Hanging posters again? Do you think that poster is really true?
Yes, it is true. I am a KU health ambassador and familiar with the audit. KU students participate in alcohol screening each year. We use the Alcohol Use Disorder Identification Test. It is a simple way to screen and identify people who are at risk of developing alcohol problems. We have learned that the majority of students are taking care of business and focusing on academics.
You know, most of my friends don't drink, so I guess what this poster is saying is true.
Would you like to get a group of friends together for a bite to eat?
Sounds great. Text me later.
Kutztown Living, neighbor to neighbor.
Funded by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.
It's 11:42 on the Tyler Werner Show. 610-683-4058 is the number to get in. Or the Facebook page, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. To basically talk, I guess whatever you want today here in the Tyler Werner Show. I mean, as far as sports goes, we're talking hockey. We'll be talking Sixers. We'll be talking some Eagles. Pitchers and catchers is coming up for the Phillies. We might get into, maybe we'll get into a little more Deflategate. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of all kinds of things going on right now. We're in that month, February, between the end of the NFL season, obviously with the Super Bowl, February 1st. We're in between that and the free agency period. A free agency period that's going to be really important for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, and it's going to be really telling. Because I'm an advocate of, obviously, keep Jeremy Maclin here if you can, as well as LaShawn McCoy if you can. But that might be difficult, especially since Jeremy Maclin, he had a great season, and he, maybe he wants to go somewhere else where he can maybe has a better chance of winning a championship. Because, here, the way that the Eagles season ended, it's kind of, things are up in the air right now. And that includes, you talk about things being up in the air, that includes, Nick Foles' tenure here as a Philadelphia Eagle.
What the hell?
Yeah, that remains up in the air. And next week I'll probably talk more about that with Mitch Lambert early on in the Tyler Werner show. As we look, well, we got the scouting combine starting today, so it should be interesting to see. I guess not just Marcus Mariota, but how other quarterbacks perform in the scouting combine, because obviously, it's going to be. It may be tough to go up and get Marcus Mariota. It may not be. I don't know. I mean, does he slide down the draft? Maybe he doesn't slide down the draft, and to get Marcus Mariota, the Eagles have to trade up. What they would have to trade up, I don't know. Whether it be a couple first-round picks and a player that some people like Fletcher Cox, a relatively young player who shows promise. Showing promise. Some people have brought up Lane Johnson, even Michael Kendricks. Not that you want to give up those guys, but I guess the idea that it's very difficult to find a quarterback, I guess, that is the prototypical guy for what Chip Kelly wants to do in this league. I guess next year, I don't know if you can find that guy. I mean, there's other guys out there that could, like even Jameis Winston could. He's got mobility. He's got a decent arm and everything, and he might be a more pro-ready quarterback to kind of just play for, in a traditional system, I guess. But I mean, even like he, for example, could fit better than, say, Nick Foles, for instance. Because again, I mean, Nick Foles, I brought this up earlier, and it's no secret, obviously, but he's not very mobile, certainly. And sometimes it's just a trickle-down effect. And, again, I mean, people, they want to say how the offensive line being hurt and / suspended and whatever early in the season when Nick Foles was struggling. I don't really use that excuse, because if you're a mobile guy, like say Russell Wilson, for instance, he doesn't have a great offensive line either. But a lot of times that's kind of, I don't know, I guess that whole theory is a bit diminished, because Russell Wilson can then roll out of the pocket. He can get out of trouble when the pocket breaks down. He can make plays with his legs and slide and get out of bounds, whatever, and avoid taking big hits. There's people bring up this notion, analysts, whatever, that it's like any quarterback with that ability, it's like, oh, they're prone to get injured or whatever. And I look at that and, I say, no, I disagree heavily with that. Because, again, Russell Wilson, he hasn't been hurt yet in his NFL career. He hasn't missed any games and whatever. Because, and again, a lot of that is because he's fast. He can get out of trouble when the pocket breaks down. But when he does run the ball, for sometimes 30, 40 yards a clip, these big runs that get key first downs and, maybe demoralize the defense a little bit. When he does get those runs, he slides. And he avoids getting hit. He goes out of bounds, whatever. And, Colin Kaepernick, same thing. He slides. He gets out of bounds. Cam Newton this year, I mean, he's been a little banged up. He's been I don't know. He tries to not slide as much and take hits. But, again, if you slide, you get out of bounds, you're not having this conversation in the first place about injuries. And it seems like, for the most part, it seems like that's what Marcus Mariota does when he's not just a running quarterback. He's not, a Michael Vick type when he came out or whatever. He has a good arm, and, he's a throw-first quarterback, but he does have the threat and the ability to run and to run the read option, something that Chip Kelly, obviously really wants to do here, I would think. That's, again, I mean, Mariota coached him in college and runs the same system there. May have to make a bit of adjustment to the speed of the NFL, the defenders, make an adjustment there. But given the fact that he has mobility and has a good arm, why can't he adjust? Why can't he adjust and be better in this league with Chip Kelly than Nick Foles can be? That's really where I'm at with that right now, and it'll continue to be a topic of conversation here, I'm sure, for weeks to come on the Tyler Werner Show as we approach free agency in a few weeks and we approach the draft towards the end of April and everything else going on right now. We got the scouting combine. I guess we'll look at things with that. But so 610-683-4058 number to get in on the show today, or at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Of course, you can aside from sports, you can play Rip and X, or you can obviously play To My Valentine if you're gonna spend with your wife or whatever, go out to a nice restaurant, do whatever. It's and about that. I bring up earlier how this will now be the second Valentine's Day in a row that I won't be spending with anybody. I don't know. I guess didn't take my theory or whatever for what it's worth, but if I I'm more. I guess I'd be more in favor, at least in recent years. I instead of going out on Valentine's Day and all the madness as far as restaurants go, one of the busiest days for restaurants and all the chaos that there can be in traffic and everything. I'm getting at, maybe, if you're a guy out there and, why don't you maybe try to cook for your significant other or something? Not that I'm saying, not that I'm criticizing people who want to go out, but, maybe for the people who have had bad experiences on Valentine's Day and, whether it be bad service or because it's chaos out there, and there's so many, all the restaurants are on long waits or whatever. I guess that's what reservations are for, but still, traffic and whatever else can be chaos. Why not maybe try, I don't know, cook, tell your significant other, why don't you go, sit down, relax for a while. I don't know. And then, have a little candlelight dinner. I don't know. Cook a, some kind of pasta or something, a little, I don't know, a sausage and peppers rustica or something. I don't know. Maybe a couple, polish it off with a couple glasses of wine. I don't know. Yeah, that's my, I don't know. That's my little idea there. That'd be something maybe the next time I have a Valentine's Day or a Valentine to celebrate Valentine's with, I don't know, maybe that would be my idea. But I don't know. That's, again, you can share what you're doing on your Valentine's Day if you do have someone to share it with. But anyways, I gotta turn something over here into the from the KUR notebook. Attention KU community. Journalist and media critic Jennifer Posner will speak at Kutztown University at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 1st in Schaefer Auditorium. In her presentation, Posner will strive to give students the literacy tools they need to unpack representations of violence in news, pop culture, and advertising. This event is sponsored by the Association of Campus Events, the Feminist Majority Leadership Alliance, and the Women's Center at KU. For more information, please visit www.kutztown.edu. This message of community interest brought to you by the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. All right, so got a few minutes left before halftime. So, with that in mind, we'll do this.
It's time for Tyler Werner's Call Out of the Week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yes, and it was a bit of a tough field, I think, this week for to find somebody to call out for the Tyler Werner Show call out of the week. But, I guess I got to go with something that actually, could make for a very, well, I guess does make for a very dramatic and interesting week for the Valentine's Day week, week leading up to Valentine's Day, whatever. We're actually gonna go over to the world of World Wrestling Entertainment in this edition of the Tyler Werner Show call out of the week. Yeah, something we don't, something that I guess an area that we don't go into too often. But there's wrestling fans out there who want to, discuss this, that have heard about this. Go right ahead. Now I guess it's a bit of a touchy subject. It's hard to just call out one person here. So I'm just gonna call out those that are guilty in the situation. And the situation essentially is, for those who don't know, Seth Rollins. At least that's his professional, his name as a professional, his character's name, I guess you want to put it. Basically, what happened was on Monday, somebody hacked his Twitter account, his WWE Twitter account, where supposedly the industry handles it. It's not the actual character or person posting stuff on this Twitter account. It's the industry. It's the writers and etc. And somebody posted on his official WWE Twitter account, Seth Rollins, nude selfies essentially. At some point early on Monday, I guess it was afternoon or whatever. Somebody posted, nude selfies of him and I guess his another woman wrestler who wrestles as a part of their NXT brand, developmental brand. That's basically what happened. Oh my God! And this is a project that they've been insistent on being PG for several years now. Of course, they weren't always like that, but in recent years, that's how they've been. They've wanted to market towards, obviously a PG audience, younger kids and everything. And it's just amazing because for a brief time, on this Twitter feed before, the industry saw this and they reacted to it and took this stuff down. For a brief time, it's like, hey, this is his WWE Twitter feed. And it's just an outrage because there's, lo and behold, there's nude selfies posted on there. It's just, it's a horrible situation. And what makes it worse is that Seth Rollins is currently engaged to somebody, and that somebody saw that this happened because, obviously somebody is in big trouble as far as being whoever's in charge of and responsible for doing this on that Twitter feed. Something that obviously was not supposed to happen. Somebody's in trouble there in that organization, and basically, doing that. I guess the fiance of Seth Rollins here saw this, and in response, she posted nude selfies of her own. It's just again, my theory on that in the first place. Before you, I guess, do get yourself to do something like that, I guess, really think it through, and just assume in this day and age, with technology in the internet, that nothing is safe. Once you snap that picture, it could be somewhere forever. And surely enough, people screen capped the Twitter feed, and when that happened, and once it was noticed, and not that I care, not that I'm interested in seeing it, and not that you out there listening would be interested to see it. But those pictures are somewhere if people want to see them, and certainly I would hope that they're they blur out the I guess the parts, for lack of a better word there, and that's really it's a bad situation. And again, the company supposedly, they're, as far as Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins is a major player right now, and perhaps he could be a future WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the top level champion, in the near future, given that he has a Money in the Bank briefcase contract that can easily get him a championship match / championship win. But again, to quote Clint Eastwood, Harry Callahan, man's got to know his limitations.
Man's got to know his limitations.
That's exactly right. And again, if you're gonna do stuff like, if you're gonna take naked selfie, I don't know why you would. I would never do, but just really think it through. And in this day and age where technology and the internet is only going to get more and more robust in this lifetime, you just can't. You got to really think that stuff through. And I don't know. This is it's really a bad situation. And again, the selfie of this woman wrestler is not who Seth Rollins is engaged to, and sad enough to say that might be the end of that engagement for him and her, I guess. But it's just a bad situation there. Let's see. He had the apology from the Twitter account that came out later on in the evening read as follows: I would like to apologize to all the WWE fans and my family and friends for private photographs that were distributed without my consent. And that's really that. Again, it's just a shame, and it could just be, just a bad situation there that from that WWE superstar. So again, the moral of the story is that there are people out there who have nothing better to do with their lives and their time, sometimes it seems, than to try to hack Twitter accounts or do something that they're not supposed to do if it's somebody that's in charge of the Twitter account, and and post this stuff that you just is not good to just flash up there out of nowhere on the internet, especially when random people who don't want to see that stuff, or who are not of appropriate age to see that stuff, could accidentally go to something like that where it's supposed to be like a PG kind of environment and see something that's not so PG there.
Oh God, ease our suffering in this our moment of great despair.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's that though. That's the call out of the week, I guess. Not a big field this week. Not really a great field. So that's the direction we went there with the call out of the week. Sorry if it was a bit of a letdown, but some weeks you just don't. You don't really have anything, I guess, that came across to me as far as that goes. So that's really where we're at there. We got to hit halftime on the Tyler Werner Show. 610-683-4058. Number to get in as always, or facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show on the Facebook page. With that in mind, stay tuned for the second half of today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio. Don't go anywhere.
Come sail with us, the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR Kutztown, and listen to the best music variety, including student specialty shows. Listen to us on campus at 1670 AM,
on your local cable television at channels 24, 28, and 266, streaming online at kutztown.edu/KUR, or on your smartphone by downloading the TuneIn app, and on any phone simply by dialing 610-465-7860.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
News, time for news.
The KUR News Time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. State lawmakers say the courts have taken away their right to determine what constitutes a charitable organization, but legal experts say they're not going to solve the problem by passing a proposed constitutional amendment to give them that right. Don Rooney has a story for us coming to us from the state capitol.
In 2012, the state Supreme Court denied charity standing to a camp in Pike County, allowing the county to collect taxes on the camp. Lawmakers say they, and not the courts, have the right to say what makes an organization a charity, and they're in the process of passing a constitutional amendment cementing that right. At a hearing on their bill, two law professors told the lawmakers the Constitution gives that right to the courts, despite their amendment.
I am always deeply impressed on how the testimony of experts will clear some of the clouds away and knock some of the flames down, if you will, on either side of an issue, because I think that's what this hearing did.
Senator John Blake says lawmakers need to get this right. Municipalities cannot tax charities, and cities and counties will hike property taxes to get the revenue they lose to charities. Don Rooney, State Capitol.
Checking KUR Sports, the KU wrestling team remains third in the NCAA Division II Super Region rankings released earlier this week, which features 5 KU grapplers in the individual rankings. Monsoon Mike says get ready for another brutal bout of wintertime cold coming up at the end of this week. In between, some snow showers possible, so be on the lookout for slick roads.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
It's on us to be more than a bystander.
Not look the other way if we see something bad happening.
Not give our friends a pass. Create an environment where women feel and are safe.
It's on us, too.
Stand up to those who tell us it's not our business.
Hold our friends accountable for their actions.
It's on us, the Golden Bear community, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
And while we do that, here's a little mood music for you. Cindy and Scott are newlyweds. Whoopity-doo!
Yes, it's 12:08 right here at the Tyler Werner Show today on Kutztown Radio. This Valentine's Week edition. A little Adam Sandler, I guess, from the Wedding Singer to, I guess, lead us into the second half of today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show. Today.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Yeah, and of course, earlier, Mitch Lambert pointed out a reference I had earlier in the theme music for To My Valentine here on the Tyler Werner Show, where he explained, it sounds like a nice, Iron Hill Brewery is going to take her to, I guess, where they make a lot of, I guess house-made beer or whatever. I don't know. I don't really partake in, beer or much alcohol in general to begin with. So I guess I sound really clueless there about that. And taking her out ice skating, that sounds like a good idea. Mitch Lambert going steady there. So that's a good, of course, his show later on at 8 o'clock, as he mentioned earlier. He does a 3-man music show. I don't know if anybody's ever had 3 people on a show here on KUR, but yeah, that's that. And of course, he'll he'll be joining us on a weekly basis, it sounds like here. And maybe some other guests that pop up here on the show throughout the semester, certainly. I would hope maybe at different times. I don't know. We'll wait and see. Because there's a lot of issues to get to with Philadelphia sports, really. I mean, if anything, things are looking up for the Sixers. I'd say the Phillies, they're at the beginning of this rebuild. So obviously, people are, there's projections that they're going to be the worst team in all of Major League Baseball this year. And,
oh God, ease our suffering, and this is our moment of great despair.
That they're not going to win many games at all. But I guess at the very least, they finally seem to be getting a rebuild process. Getting rid of Jimmy Rollins and some other guys, and we'll see what the Phillies do here as they head into the season. But yeah, not looking like too promising of a season as far as record-wise, as far as records are concerned. But nevertheless, they're at the beginning of a new rebuilding cycle, it seems. So at least they're recognizing that it was time to do that. Now, the Sixers, I mentioned earlier, we were going to get into some Sixers talk. Where I left off here a couple months ago on the Tyler Werner show, back in the fall semester, I remember sitting here and discussing how, the Sixers are starting off 0-18 and that they were on the verge of tying the worst starting record in league history and even surpassing it. And, I guess fortunately that didn't happen. But, right now, they sit at 12-41. But, you see, it seems like every night they're competing, whether it be against, some of the best teams in the league or not. A couple nights ago, the Golden State, they were giving them a run for their money, and so they got some young. It seems like they got some young guys that are coming along. I remember too, like about a month ago or so, where it was like one game where Mark Zumoff, who obviously does play-by-play. For those who don't know, he's the play-by-play guy for the Sixers on Comcast Sportsnet on TV. And I remember him, towards the end of one game, last month, where it was, saying like, this city is beginning to fall in love with this Sixers team, and this, and yeah.
Oh yes!
And at the time, I'm like, well, I don't know about that. That might be taking a little bit too far. But a month later, here today, they already won more games than I think most people expected they would win this season. So at least this isn't a full-on tank job. They're playing close to, I guess, 400 ball, I guess you would say, as of late. Considering they started the season 0-18 and everything. They were losing games by, 35, 40 points and stuff like that. But guys like Nerlens Noel, and they're coming along, and Michael Carter-Williams. There's some other good talent on this team too. Like, not standout talent, but some guys that can be good bench players. On this team in the coming future. Because let's not forget. They got Joel Embiid, who probably may not play this season, obviously, but. Next year they'll roll him out, kind of like they rolled out Nerlens Noel this year, and they got Dario Saric over in playing over in Europe, who they could get 2 years from now, and I would think maybe considering that the Sixers team, at least by most people's standards and our standards, are overachieving a little to some extent and not full on tanking the season. And are competing against some good teams. And, it makes maybe makes the Sixers organization a brighter place for Darius Saric to come over to and play for. So again, a few years down the road, maybe this team, the Sixers team can be in the playoff mix and be competing for a championship. Maybe 4 years down the road. We'll see. But again, I mean, the past month and a half, I mean, things have been looking up for the Sixers. And, from a basic standpoint, I guess you could say. And so, I mean, that's really where we're at here. I mean, Coach Brett Brown, I like what he's doing. On the coaching staff, Sam Hinkie, kind of man behind a lot of this, player recruiting and everything. Maybe they don't. I mean, who knows? Maybe because since they have the whole draft lottery balls thing in the NBA, I mean, who knows? I mean, again, maybe the Sixers don't have to finish in last place. They could finish third, maybe fourth to last, and still get maybe that number one draft ball. I mean, who knows?
To me, those balls are perfect.
Not that I was, I guess, referencing those kind of, those kind of balls as maybe Tom Brady would with Deflategate, but interested to see how that investigation goes. But since that was kind of wrapping up a thought there on the Sixers, perhaps it'd be a good time to segue into a topic I brought up last week, a topic you have to bring up. I think, now that Tom Brady is interjecting here via soundbite on the show, Tom Brady's legacy, and I kind of brought this up last week in brief, and I mean, 37. I mean, it seems like he could still play another few years. I mean, he's still playing at a very high level, and for all I know, I mean, they're my pick to be in the Super Bowl from the AFC again next year. But right now, I mean, as far as like the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the NFL, some people are going to say, some people are going to say how Joe Montana is number one, and it seems like because there's this notion that the whole Spygate thing with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots back then, and now this whole deflated balls thing and Deflategate taints the legacy. And I argued last week how these footballs that were obviously watched over closer than probably any other instance in NFL history last week at the Super Bowl. In that game, the New England Patriots came out on top, and whether it was by a great defensive play that the Patriots needed to get to win that game and steal it there at the end or whatever, it didn't matter. Against this defense, Tom Brady put up 4 touchdowns against what was being touted as one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, definitely in recent history, without question. And that just spoke to how good Tom Brady is. And past couple of weeks I've been hearing the hate, obviously.
Go ahead, hater.
Because I know people are, they don't like Tom Brady and they don't like Bill Belichick and stuff like that, and everything else. And I think they let that cloud their judgment when it comes to debating who is the greatest quarterback in NFL history. And now with 4 rings, plus 2 more Super Bowl appearances, which were close, winnable games, with all the yards that Tom Brady has put up in his career and will still put up, and with just the 71% win percentage that he and Bill Belichick have had over their career in the New England Patriots organization, just speaks to me as to how I think Tom Brady will go down as the greatest quarterback in NFL history, and that you can make up that statement today. That's my thought, and it's a topic of discussion that again, if you want to bring the Tyler Werner show here, if you want to debate that, go right ahead. You know, if you think Joe Montana is still the greatest in the NFL history, I mean, you know, I guess you know, just bring it, as you know, somebody would say in the wrestling world. Of course, being Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, of course, if you didn't hear earlier, the call out of the week, of course, coincidentally was somebody from the wrestling world. So, but if you missed it, I mean, always check out the podcast on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. As again, I mean, today is the Valentine's Week edition, and you can, you know, you can share maybe what you're doing with your Valentine, your significant other, and you know, or of course, if you're not, you know, if you're not with somebody right now, and you're single, you can play the Rip and X game, which I of course brought up last year. And you know, I mean, speaking of that, I thought it was funny because I remember this vividly last year during this time of the year, this week leading into Valentine's Day, and coincidentally, oddly enough, I remember that day, Anthony Marchetto, I think, he does a sports show, I think Tuesdays or something. I don't know. He's a Miami Dolphins fan. I don't know what, you know. I don't know what the connection is there. But anyways, I remember he guest produced this show last year. I think because I remember Mike Regensburg was doing it, but he had a meeting that day, so Anthony Marchetto stepped up to do it, to fill in that day. And I remember asking him, like, you know, do you want to play this? Because I guess he was single at the time as well, and I think if I remember correctly, he said, like, no, I'm going to pass on the game, because I would have too bad of things to say, I guess, about exes. So, you know, that was, I guess that was pretty much that. And, you know, didn't really have anything else in regards to those games last year. But, you know, again, I did my Rip and X earlier. I kind of rehashed to Mitch Lambert, my version of it last year, and, you know, this year, the whole thing. But, you know, it was basically just kept it to that, and that's basically the end of the subject right there. So
this is the end of this subject for me. Yeah, for a long time.
As Bill Belichick said about Deflategate a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, you know, it's just, you know, how many things people say, how they can just apply to what I say here sometimes on the Tyler Werner Show. That's what the soundboard's for, though, I guess. But anyways, it's about time we take another break with all that in mind. So, again, a number to get in, 610-683-4058. As always, a number to get in. Or the Facebook page at facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. It's a Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio.
Email any suggestions to kur@kutztown.edu. Complaints, concerns, questions, whatever you may be thinking at the time, it's kur@kutztown.edu.
As a young teenage boy, I didn't even know what autism was. How do you even spell that? A few years later, I heard that a friend's cousin's son had been diagnosed with autism.
I still wasn't sure what that really meant.
When I went to college, my roommate's brother had autism. When I moved to the city for work, my best friend called me and told me his son had been diagnosed with autism. We were both in shock. I still remember the day I walked into the house and saw that look on my wife's face. I knew something was wrong. I'll never forget how I felt when she said, "Our son has autism."
Autism is getting closer to home. Today, 1 in 68 children is diagnosed with autism. That's about a 30% increase in 2 years. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It It is 24 minutes after noon right here on this sunny afternoon, clear sky afternoon here up at Kutztown. But yeah, I heard earlier in the weather report that it sounds like we're due for some more winter weather tomorrow, perhaps. I don't know. It was nice to have, I guess, what you would call a snow day off from school the other day. Even though it wasn't really snow, it was more like a freezing rain day that personally, I wasn't really difficult to drive through at all, but nevertheless, it was nice. It kind of made for a 3-day weekend in essence, and I never complained about that. So. Give it a few days to rest. So that was certainly nice. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow as far as the snow goes. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be anything major yet. I don't know. I haven't heard any really panic about it early in the week like you would normally expect from something that's going to really amount to a lot of snow. So nevertheless, we'll wait and see, I guess. Now, I brought up earlier, I was talking a little bit of the Eagles and how they might, how they're looking at Marcus Mariota. Obviously, that's no secret. And I have actually have Mel Kiper, a mock draft that was updated as of a few hours ago. His mock draft 2.0. Not several, but a few months in advance, of course. And just to see what Mel Kiper's thinking right now, as far as mock drafts and where he thinks, Marcus Mariota may fall, and where other guys may fall for that matter, and what he thinks right now that the Eagles will end up doing in that first round of the draft. So number one, he's got Jameis Winston getting chosen by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I could very well see that happening. And I'm scrolling down here, and so I guess so I scroll down here and I see that I have to, sign up here and subscribe, to see the rest of it. So I don't know if I would have known that, I wouldn't have even brought this up in the first place. So I guess all right. Well, I guess that's it. Let me go back. Let me see if version 1 is anything. See if you got to subscribe to that too. Well, whatever. So I guess that that thwarts that idea here. But yeah, I mean, at least as far as that goes, I mean, I would think Jameis Winston would be the first quarterback, and I would think too that Tampa Bay would do that. But you know what? I got up another article here. I guess at least according to Todd McShay, the number one prospect to him ahead of Jameis Winston is Leonard Williams out of USC. Big defensive end, 6'5", 290. At least, maybe a guy that can... I don't know, maybe if the guy, somebody the Eagles wanted, I don't know, but obviously he wouldn't be available at that point. So, but at least for those who are looking for defense in this draft, but the problem I think that might come along here, I know some people are saying how they should keep Nick Foles, not mess around with trying to get Marcus Mariota and maybe add to this defense. Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, obviously they gotta add to this defense, to the secondary especially, which they can start. Obviously, they can get a good start of doing that in free agency if they can get one of several prospects in free agency over to the Eagles, and maybe whether that means they draft a cornerback at some point. It'd be nice if they could replace Nate Allen as well, but I guess that they probably should have done that before this past season, but that didn't happen. But hopefully now maybe they'll think of doing that. And really, I mean, they got a big field as far as secondary goes from free agency, and we'll see what they do in the draft. Obviously, Trent Cole's getting up there in age, and now, unfortunately, they need like a new middle linebacker. I don't think Casey Matthews cuts it really at that position when he had to fill a major void in the middle of the season. And so I mean, there's a couple guys in the front seven that maybe they can upgrade, but definitely the first priority is the secondary as far as defense is concerned. And I mean, because I say that because I know some people would argue that the first priority is, maybe wide receiver, maybe get somebody, to replace Riley Cooper or something. Well, obviously, they signed Riley Cooper to a decent contract after last season, and Macklin was on a 1-year deal, so they might, if Macklin goes somewhere else, I mean, they're going to have to replace Jeremy Macklin. I mean, Jordan Matthews is young, he's a slot receiver, but that would be to me, that'd be a sad loss if they lose Macklin and they don't find anybody to replace him. Again, I mean, I don't know how Riley Cooper really fits in with everything here at all, but that's the direction they're going in, or the direction that they decided to go in, and I guess we'll see if any of that changes, but that's really that right now. And again, towards the beginning of the show, with Mitch Lambert, we were talking a little bit of Nick Foles and how the offensive line went down early in the season. Well, a lot of the offensive line, and how Nick Foles was struggling. How Darren Sproles, first couple of games, he was really the MVP of the first couple of games that the Eagles won, despite Nick Foles not playing too well. And
this guy is a special dude right here.
Yeah, he Foles would go on to say that about Sproles, which again maybe bailing out the Eagles a couple times early in the season. Sproles, another name that getting up there in age, I wonder how much he has left, and especially seeing as how he wasn't very active towards the end of the season. If they're not going to use him all that much, and if they can't, if there's no point in using them, then I don't know what what the benefit is of still having him I guess other than a special teams punt returner or whatever, but yeah, I mean, again, Mitch Lambert and I, we were talking earlier in the show about, it seemed like some people were making excuses for Nick Foles, I think, not playing, 27-2 football like he was during the 2013 season. And, I've had past conversations with Mitch Lambert, like, in classes that we've shared, and et cetera, days where he'd come in and he'd be wearing a Flyers sweatshirt or an Eagles jersey, and I think he's also got a pair of Eagles green sunglasses, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember getting in past conversations and kind of being in agreement with thoughts on the game that happened the day before or whatever. But prior to today, I didn't really have any idea of what his thoughts were on Nick Foles this season. Whether he's one of those guys who would try, I guess, for lack of a better term, try to make excuses for Nick Foles, like I know some people have, or would maybe point out some of his weaknesses, like I am doing on this show, and have done on this show during this past football season. But surely enough, I mean, Mitch and I, we were along the same lines of thinking here, and I talked to him earlier, and I said, yeah, you want to come on and do this? You know, we didn't talk anything sports or anything before coming on the air. It's basically, you know, see what happens. You know, we're not going to have any pre-discussion, and so no pre-exposing to his thoughts here. But he's basically second some of what I was saying, and with the offensive line, and how, you know, this offensive line not being healthy early on in the season, and, you know, maybe a couple guys getting up there, and, you know, Jason Peters, who's been, you know, one of the best left tackles in the league in recent years, who had, I guess, a decent year, but maybe showing signs of age, and, you know, amongst other guys on this offensive line that were missing and hurt at times. Again, when it comes to the offensive line, I mean, I guess, you know, maybe that 27-2 season by Nick Foles, I mean, certainly was complemented by the fact that the offensive line was healthy and, you know, basically suited up for almost every snap in the 2013 season and had no changes whatsoever, and was one of the best offensive lines in football. Look how that helped the Dallas Cowboys this year by having arguably the best offensive line in football. It almost got them to the NFC Championship game. And I mean, you can, I guess, poke fun at Dallas all you want, the 8-8 seasons leading up to it, but this year you can't help but acknowledge some of the things that they did right, and building that offensive line, I mean, the way they did, I mean, certainly helped. But as far as Nick Foles goes, I mean, I'm not going to use that as an excuse, like some people. I'm not going to use that to excuse some of his plays. It may be a reason, because, I mean, look at like guys like Tom Brady, for instance, throughout his career. He hasn't always had the same guys. He's had different offensive linemen all the time. He hasn't always had the greatest offensive line, and he's not a very mobile guy. You know, he's not a fast runner. He's not going to make many plays with his feet at all. But he can slide in the pocket, and you saw this in the Super Bowl, the way he steps up in the pocket. And he can just make, you know, one little move to get out of trouble, to avoid a sack, and then deliver the football. And that's if he's not getting rid of the ball quickly, you know, right off the snap. But Foles, not only is he a slow runner, but he just doesn't move well in the pocket at all. He's not, he's very gangly, and he's just not, I guess, I don't know. What's the term here I'm looking for? He's not very graceful with his feet. ask about that if he's on at some point in the recent weeks. But that's the direction I'm trying to go in with this. This 2-hour show. As far as former producer during the fall semester, Tyler Fleming, he did a fine job, I thought, throughout the fall semester, helping me out with a bit of a complex show to do here, I guess, on KUR, the Tyler Werner show, with all the audio that I'll be pulling. Today there'll be plenty of Deflategate audio and post Super Bowl audio and thoughts from some of the key players in that big Super Bowl we had this past weekend. But sometimes it's a matter of how class schedules work out, and for me, this 11 to 1, I guess, lunchtime time block here for me was a good fit for me. Definitely a big change from the 6 to 8 in the evening, and I don't know, the noon to 1 I had in the spring semester, and I don't know, I think I did 3 to 4 over the summer or whatever, so all kinds of time changes. But I like this 11 to 1 o'clock time block. It helps fill the gap between the class I just came from and the class afterwards, the senior seminar class, where I'm talking about internships and kind of a thinking about the future kind of class. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Definitely going to bring some co-hosts on. But yeah, as far as Tyler Fleming goes, he did a good job, I think, in the fall semester. And I'm not sure when his show is, but I encourage you to listen to it. I think he does. I think his show is like, I don't know, close to midnight or something on one of these nights on KUR. I'm not sure, but so I'm kind of handling all the legwork here on the Tyler Werner, as far as the commercials and everything. So given that, I think strategically here, and I'll be my goal for this show as far as making it different, and being able to, I guess, being able to handle everything a little easier, is again, playing audio samples of press conferences of things that'll be going on. Maybe sometimes that'll help me get organized, obviously, and just, other things. We'll have, again, co-hosts on, not today, but certainly in the future, as we have a big Eagles off season. There's a lot to get into about the Eagles, and I mean, I left off with what? I mean, it was I think it was the loss to the Seahawks, I think, and then leading into that second Cowboys game. That was finals week during the fall semester in early December or whenever it was, and that's basically where I left off. And a lot happened after that. So we'll save it because we're coming off of the Super Bowl, and obviously, there's a lot to reflect on there, and not to mention Deflategate and some of the things that are coming out of that, some of the things that have been coming out of that, and just everything. We'll wrap it into today's edition of the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio. Now, let me bring up something from the KUR notebook here. Want to be successful at an upcoming fair? Then you must attend this brief orientation session soon for the How to Work a Career Fair. Find out what it takes to work at a job fair with positive results, including what do you do before you arrive, when you arrive, how to work your way around the room, and how to prepare your 30-second commercial. That's for Tuesday, February 10th, 11 to 11:30 a.m., I'm assuming, at the McFarland Student Union Building, room 250, How to Work a Career Fair. So that's that. Now, again, we're creeping up on the first break here, and as far as this show goes, I mentioned I have a class after the show, so typically, it begins at 1 o'clock. So I'm typically going to end the show around 12:50. I get 10 of 1, so I have time to save the podcast file and this and that, and then get over to class. So, we ended a little early, and then I guess when I bring up this Jockey Pro program, for those who don't know, that's like an automatic. That's basically certain times there's set music to play when nobody here is doing a show, and the ads and everything. So, I guess I'll for that brief moment there we're in the show, I'll turn into a little more of a disc jockey kind of radio host, just to, I guess, so I can get out of here at a good time and get over to my important class after this at a good time, and lead you into a little music, I guess, maybe whatever comes up after that, and then it does the top of the hour stuff, given it's 1 o'clock, and etc. So that's basically that. I mean, we got a lot of things to get into with the Super Bowl today, but I got to throw out the old cliche there. I had, there were some housekeeping things, I guess, to take care of wherever that cliche comes from, and as more things come to my head, there'll probably be some other, housekeeping things that'll come up every now and then. But I had to bring those things up. It's my last semester here. I'm sure it's going to fly by here on KUR, just like every semester does, and I think it'll be freshen things up a little bit. And my idea was to also look into like sports related forums on topics and just like random posts and say what other people are saying about certain issues, so that it's not just me sitting here and as if I'm giving a just a straight monologue lecture where basically it's everything I say, it's only you only hear my viewpoint and everything like that. I had an interesting show, given that we're going to have some co-hosts to some co-hosting to join the show, and have the microphone and you don't, so you got everything I say matters.
Well, I have a microphone and
exactly.
You don't. So you will listen to every word I have to say.
I don't want it to be one of those